Yo, we got more flashback gems of the Rocks Pirates, Garp, and the Marines. We see what happened to Harold and who would kill Rocks, the legend himself, during his own era, and more, so make sure to stay tuned for another epic flashback chapter, which, as I've been saying, is more awesome than the present day stuff, if you ask me. Now, chill in the parking within and smash that like button if you enjoy seeing One Piece videos like this one on the channel. I want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Nakam if you haven't by subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss future One Piece reviews and updates.
A quick thank you to Starforge for sponsoring this video. And I know what you're thinking, Starforge is like the coolest name ever. What do they build? Frickin' spaceships? Yes, it is an epic name and I wish I thought of it first, but Starforge Systems is actually the futuristic PC building company known for their premium quality and impeccable attention to detail. And they're also known for their white glove service at an accessible price point. All PCs are built by hand in Austin, Texas by experienced and passionate builders. They've got a whole bunch of different PCs at different price points, and these things are truly out of this world. Each computer comes with a full 2-year parts and labor warranty, and they are releasing monthly limited run builds all the time, including collabs with massive gaming and anime IPs. Just look at this insane Kaiju number 8 limited edition PC. This is so freaking cool. They offer custom cases and plate lights, fully custom builds for everyone from casual gamers just looking for a great machine, to top of the line high-end machines for the most dedicated gaming pros. And they even offer desk mats and acrylic posters so you can make your entire setup match your unique aesthetic. Check them out right now, link in the description. Starforge is not only like the most epic sci-fi name for a company, they really are forging the next generation of futuristic top-of-the-line PCs. Check them out for yourself, link in the description.
And now, without further ado, let's jump into it, spoilers and all. So this chapter, called The Legendary Bar, it seems like everything is legendary in this time period. But anyways, it starts with some actual pirating, aka some pirate-like behavior you'd actually expect from historical pirates. Obviously, the Rocks Pirates weren't saints, as we know, and here we see them booking it with money they stole from the Foot Colony Temple of the International Philanthropy Federation. So what's supposed to be charity money. Bystanders are screaming, "Please stop, that money was donated for poor children in need." And Linlin even frames this in a way where their actions don't seem as bad as they might otherwise appear. She says, yeah, right, if that's true, why hasn't it been turned over? You were gonna keep it, right? And if that were the case, if this philanthropy organization is a complete scam, then it doesn't really seem like a big moral issue to take from the scammers, since the poor children are not getting it anyways. It's clear they have a bunch of bags and a lot of wealth, especially considering Oda is just showing us one instance of probably many such incidents. Whitebeard and Kaido are still down below and asking Ochoku to lower the lift since they are still underground. Ochoku leaves it to Shiki, who says he totally forgot about them. Instead of helping them, he shows us an example of the crew's famous infighting. He throws a bomb down to his crewmates instead of a lifeline, thinking the rest of them will get bigger cuts of the loot and even calling them suckers. Crazy who he's doing this to. Let's say that line of reasoning even made sense, which I guess it kind of does, a bigger number, even though it's short-term thinking. But you don't try to take down Whitebeard of all people, come on. One of the elders says, damn it, these bastards know everything about us, implying they know that they are corrupt and a scam. Others ask, isn't the army here? And another says, they are getting close. The high priest says we can't let them escape. So they try to seal the temple. As Linlin is preparing to bust through, we see what is obviously Whitebeard's power at work. There are comments about the island sinking in an earthquake, but also one that says it's gotta be his handiwork, meaning Whitebeard's, of course. Even Linlin is screaming his name as she's raised into the air. The temple is destroyed by all this as we see Kaido and Whitebeard emerge above ground. Kaido says, gotta admit, I'm a bit jealous I can't do that. Whitebeard says, and this is so awesome, all of this based on like historical perspective and what we know will happen. He says, interested in getting a power, huh? You'd better choose wisely if you seek one out. You'll be stuck with it for life. Kaido says, good point, but as we know, he does end up getting a great one, the Gyarados fruit, as I like to call it. Looks like Kyo was down there too and asks, who was it? Which one of you tried to ditch us down there? Ochoku points to Shiki nervously, and Kyo, aka Silver Axe, who is a rival with Shiki, they're constantly butting heads, says angrily, figures it'd be you, Shiki. Shiki, looking super goofy with his fake innocent face, says, oh, Kyo, thank goodness you survived. He's pretty hilarious in his own right. He adds, I was so worried about you. An obvious lie, but helps explain what kind of inner turmoil the Rock's pirates were dealing with and how great they could have been if they could just get along. Rox asks what are they all doing before telling them to move it. Rox confirms the treasure is safe among all the hustle and bustle while he's told to look at the shore. Since the Marines, aka new challengers, have shown up, he says with the infighting, this ain't the time to face them. We should have been getting ready to ship off. Whitebeard comments that the Marines are everywhere and notes that was fast, and did someone leak our plans? So aside from the infighting among the crew itself, looks like there's a Marine informant on the crew, making it even more destined to fail no matter how great it seems. Rox decides screw it, no point in prepping to sail now, get ready to fight. Faced with so many Marines, like a true boss, he smiles and gives the command plunder everything and sink 'em all. Gotta say, Oda did a good job of making Rox as epic as we imagined him to be and as all the years of build-up implied. We're told in a mere 2 years since their formation, the record of the Rox crew spoke for itself. 16 documented raids, 76 sunken ships, 14 ports reduced to ash, and 5 towns wiped off the map, even one nation brought to ruin, 3 unprecedented violations of Article 18 of international law, and 25 criminal records quietly erased. All the while, we see Rox launch hockey shock waves with his sword slashes that destroy approaching ships. The narrator says even with the future Pirate King Gold D. Rogers sailing the seas, it would not be an overstatement to refer to this period as the era of Rox. And that is a legendary statement, really hyping up Rox in its own right. I mean, think about it. Roger was there, Roger was on the seas, Roger was killing it in his own way, and yet it still was Rox's era. Then we jump to Inishi in the New World. Harold is there and he's told by the world government authorities, what are you doing? Leave this place at once, Harold. He's told all non-affiliated nations are considered lawless territories. Don't concern yourselves with the humans living here, they have no rights. Harold screams, that's messed up. The world government can't just decree everything like that. Let them go. This country gave aid to Elbaf during our famine. Out of the kindness of their hearts, they're our friends, our saviors. And they in turn scream out while being tied up, King Harold, help us. Harold makes it clear what his intentions are when he says we're not leaving without repaying our debt. And if you'll remember, back when they helped Elbaf, Harold said if they are similarly in need, the giants would also help them in turn. Up to this point, he is a man of principles and a man of his word. And here he is sticking to it despite the fact that it contradicts his goal, possibly his biggest goal right now, of becoming a member nation. The world government guy says, Harold, I understand that Elbaf is under consideration for becoming a member nation, correct? Interfering to help us would be one thing, but you'll only hurt your membership bid if you intervene on behalf of a non-affiliated country. This actually sounds super realistic and definitely reminds me of how organizations in the real world try to influence the action of non-member states by waving the possibility of membership in their face. Anyways, the dude just says, stay out of the way, Harold, as he shoots a seemingly innocent woman. Harold loses it, veins popping and all, and says, you scum, you aren't human. Interesting line coming from a horned giant, but we all get the point. His giant frame is launched from his boat in the direction of the world government ship as he wields his giant sword overhead. Chances are that ship's not going to finish off too well. And how did the newspapers frame this incident of Harold being loyal and trying to save his friends who saved him in the past from injustice and even death? Well, the headlines, not unlike a clickbaity YouTube title, hopefully mine is as good this week. King Harold exposed, Elbaf monarch sinks innocent battleship. Alliance with the world government revealed as a ploy. Of course, when Rox sees this, he is overjoyed. He laughs and says, you see, that's the government for you. Let's drink at the castle, Harold. This is at Ida's Tavern, by the way, that it's happening. Harold says, don't be dumb. I'm not letting a man with a reputation as bad as yours come to the mainland. However, he still likes drinking with him at Ida's Tavern. Not that it really matters where they drink, the point is they're bonding over drinks. Rox replies, your whole nation should be joining up with me. Come on, Harold, give it up. I can't stand seeing you grovel to the world government anymore. And I don't know about you guys, but I think Rox, as usual, is making a lot of sense. And I still haven't seen anything crazy that he's done to make him seem evil or like the bad guy 100%. So it'll be interesting to see what else he does before this flashback is through. Harold is still resisting, though, saying sooner or later Elbaf will become a member nation of the world government. By the way, at this point Harold has shaved his head bald. Rox even comments on it saying, "You think shaving your head was a sign of good faith? Is that a cultural thing you got from somewhere?" And he laughs. Harold says Garp laughed too. And here, Rox even shows respect for Garp, saying that guy hates the top brass, aka those in charge of the world government. He'd also be better off as a pirate. Harold counters saying they're a massive organization. Sure, they have corrupt trash in their ranks, but the Navy is a fine army, he says. The average Marine helps save people on a day-to-day basis. Harold notes that some of them already come from Elbaf like John Giant. If more of our country's warriors followed suit, they could use their boundless strength to really make a difference for people everywhere. And Rox says now that's terrifying. Rox even asks Ida, "Why don't you talk some sense into him, Ida?" Ida smiles and says, "I wish I could. If Harold was my son, I'd tell him you should choose your friends wisely." And then one of them says, "Hey, don't take shots at me." So I'm not sure if it's Harold or if it's Rox, because the implication is she might be referring to Rox being a bad influence and him not hanging out with Rox. So not 100% sure because they're not showing the character during that speech bubble. But either way, it's a cute scene showing the extent of their friendship where they can talk and drink alone, with Rox even joking around with Harold's favorite woman. Now Oda is purposely showing us this scene of close friendship to really shock us with what's about to come next. But first we jump to Navy HQ, where big names we'll recognize are talking about the giant situation. They capture people's fear of giants in general as they repeat what's often said about them, saying if a giant were to roll over in their sleep, people could be crushed to death. If one just loses their temper, lives could be lost. Do you really think humans can coexist with such creatures? That's the gist of what they told me. They really said all that, another voice responds. Then we see a young Vice Admiral Garp, a young Vice Admiral Sengoku, a young Vice Admiral Otsuru, and an Admiral Kong. So big takeaway there is there may be a legendary fleet admiral in this time that we will hopefully see during this flashback, since Kong isn't yet fleet admiral. Maybe he'll even be defeated, and that's what makes Kong have to step up by one of these characters like Rox. We'll see what happens, but for now they're eating and Garp says they're fine letting him join the Navy. But that's all, huh? Sengoku says Harold is an honest man. He's trying to learn from history and change Elbaf. And Otsuru says there's rumors he's being scattered by Rox. If that's true, the Navy might not be able to stand against them. And notably, we're not used to seeing Kong so young and flustered. He's sweating and jittery kind of, as he's trying to balance everything and everyone, probably opposing opinions between the top ranks and the bottom ones. Or more so closer to the bottom, let's say. He says, "You make good points, but it is what it is, damn it. We're really stuck between a rock and a hard place now." Still, you can't deny their wild and violent track record, he adds. The fiery Garp says that's exactly the kind of strength after Kong, as he chews with his mouth open. Very Luffy energy right here. But it's crazy how he just is so committed to being a Marine, despite the fact that he hates everything about the system. Sengoku says just hurry and make Elbaf a member nation already. Otsuru says if it were up to me, it wouldn't be an issue. So all these up-and-comers and future legends are on board for the Giants being a member nation, but Kong clearly got different directions from above, as mentioned, and so the opinions of these vice admirals, no matter how legendary they will become in the future, doesn't mean much. It's a great example of what Harold was talking about. There are good people in the Marines, but the question is, does it matter if the corrupt top brass will always make the final decision? And then we get the final and arguably most interesting portion of the chapter that takes place 42 years ago in Hachinosu. Last chapter, we were told that Shaki was gonna replace Gloriosa as the Kuja Pirates captain, and now we jumped forward enough so that she is already quitting, and we see at Hachinosu, aka at Pirate Island, that people are going crazy over the news, saying it's huge. Keep in mind, Shaki seems to be considered the most beautiful woman in the whole world right now in this time period, and it pretty much affects every dude. Pirates are upset since in their minds, this means there's no chance they'll run into her at the sea anymore. We hilariously see people dropping to their knees like their life is over, saying, "It can't be. I set sail because I dreamed of being attacked by Shaki's Kuja pirates." Such a funny line right there. Others say, "Damn, we wasted our youth and Shaki-chan." Even Gloriosa is reading news about her successor that's now retiring as she's chilling with Linlin. She asks herself, "What are you up to, Shaki?" Linlin asks, "Do you reckon she quit so she could chase after a man like you did, Gloriosa? Does love always lead to ruin in the Isle of Women?" And Gloriosa simply remarks like, "You'd know anything about the pain of love. You crank out kids like popcorn," she says hilariously. But you gotta admit, it's impressive that Linlin can do that and still be an active, formidable Rocks pirate. Like, I wonder if she's sometimes just pregnant as she's beating people up. Gloriosa thinks and says anyway, I honestly can't imagine her getting lovesick. I'd never forgive her if she went after Roger. As we know, Shaki ends up with Rayleigh, so Gloriosa doesn't have to worry about that, but funny that she'd think she might go after her Roger. But whether it's because of Rayleigh or not, I look forward to learning more about Shaki's thought process for leaving. Then we get another hilarious moment, which I think a lot of us would be invested in because it focuses on Miss Buckin and Whitebeard. All of these interactions are great because of Weevil, as we'll get to. Buckin says, it's always Shaki this and Shaki that. At least you've only got eyes for me, right, Newgate? So she clearly likes him, but Newgate only responds, I've never been in love with you. Still, that doesn't mean he's never been with her at all, if you know what I mean. And even if he hasn't yet, it doesn't mean she won't wear him down eventually. So I honestly do think that Weevil is probably Newgate's son. That's where my money would be. But let me know if you agree in the comments. Even look at these two bicker as if they were an old married couple. Like, it's they're pretty close, you gotta admit. She says, what did you just say? Clearly upset and getting quite close to him physically. I'm the popular sensation Miss Buckin. Whitebeard says, isn't that enough? While she says, no, I want you. Then people are heard saying, no way, something crazy is happening, what's wrong? We're told it's the Kuja pirates, they're coming toward the coast. We then see Shaki appear as the narrator tells us, in Pirate Island's history, this incident is said to rank among the greatest, even with all that was yet to come. Pretty crazy statement there. The arrival of the world's most beautiful idol caused a commotion in this hive of murderous fiends. They all fall to their knees in her presence with hearts in their eyes. They say she's a goddess and now they can die happy. They wonder if they're dreaming and comment on her beauty, comparing it to a blinding light. They ask if she's joining the Rock's pirates like Gloriosa. She says, no, I just want to live here for a while. And they say, what? In shock and in unison. She says, quitting won't matter to the Marines, they'll always be after me since I was a pirate. So I'm gonna hide out here for a while with all of you. You'll protect me, right? She asks. Of course we will, they respond. When she says this place smells, they say we'll clean it up right away. When she says I want to open a store, they say we'll build one for you. She gets whatever she wants, pretty much. Rox comes in asking and complaining about the noise. He asks with his crew, why are you rats making such a racket? They say, don't blame her, Rox, this was our doing. We see that her ripoff bar is now open, and it's so popular we're told that it will take over 1 month to get in. She says, welcome, I'm so happy to see you, to the Rock's Pirates. She even has an apron on, mind you. She says, you'll be my first customer, with a big smile, seemingly to Rox. Would you like a drink? And if you thought Rox would be mad at her, or at the commotion at least, you'd be dead wrong. Like the rest, his heart pops out of his chest. Newgate's too, by the way, and everyone's really. He views her as an angel. The narrator says Shaki was like a flower blooming in a dry wasteland. Her very presence enriched the island. The inhabitants of Hachinosu came to covet her as a treasure, an irreplaceable crown jewel. Unfortunately, the narrator tells us, a treasure is always the inevitable target of theft. It's definitely making it sound like Shaki, like Helen of Troy, was the cause of the Great War at God Valley. In a previous chapter, Garp said you don't just swipe the crown jewel of Pirate Island, of course they'd come back to get it. That could explain why everyone seemed to get involved, because everyone was obsessed with her. And perhaps it will explain some of the actions and alliances that took place. But we'll have to wait and see. For now though, Rox is smitten and says he'll give her a hand and that the place smells great. That somewhat more lighthearted scene gives way to the Room of Authority in Marijoa, where the elders are seriously plotting. They say, very well, relay this to Harold. We shall accept Elbaf's admission into the world government on one condition: the warriors of Elbaf must kill Rox. So betrayal enters the conversation, and honestly, carrying something like that could explain the change in Harold's expression over time, because he compromised his principles potentially for the greater good of his country, or at least for what he thought would be the greater good. This would also allow Rox to be defeated, but it would be one of those caught off guard situations by the betrayal, not a someone was stronger than him situation, so that he still keeps this legendary powerful aura around him that Oda built up so well. But let me know your thoughts about all this. Is Shaki the cause of the God Valley incident? Will Harold betray and kill Rox? And what else stands out to you in this chapter and even moving forward? So happy with these flashbacks personally, I can't wait for more. Now if you enjoyed this video, then YouTube says you won't want to miss this one, link on screen right now. Like and subscribe for more One Piece, and I'll see you in the next one.